Per usual, everything else channels for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. Let's take a look at some altcoins once again. And overall, not really much to do that I'm seeing. That's the not so good news, maybe short term. If you're looking for trades today, as I always am, I'm on the hunt. I'm out there in the trenches looking for stuff to do. The good news is most of these charts have some pretty obvious levels where I like entries. I like positions. Treated essentially as a stop limit order, as a breakout trade once we see that level breached and not a penny before. And then there's a mix of other charts that kind of have hit levels you'd expect them to hit, and they are retracing a little bit, consolidating a little bit. Those are, in my opinion, harder to trade, but may be easier to hold. I think the breakout trades are easier to trade and harder to pick, as in, if you're a token picker, there may not be a good reason why XYZ coin outperforms ABC coin. But if you bought XYZ instead of ABC in the upcoming period, you're not going to capture those returns. But for alts in general, on dominance, on Bitcoin dominance, this is exactly what you want to see. This is what you've been waiting for years. You want to see Bitcoin dominance below the cloud. And unlike everyone who's pointed out every undulation, perambulation, resuscitation, perturbation in dominance on a lower time frame, to me, this has been the time frame to watch for years. So to see this actually starting to break down for people in alts makes a lot more sense. It makes more sense here to punt in altcoin weighted portfolio construction versus maintaining everything in BTC here. And this is not different from what's going on in legacy. You're seeing the exact same thing on things like equal weighted S&P versus market cap weighted S&P, DJI versus NASDAQ, IWM versus NASDAQ. This stuff happens in cycles. And a lot of times the leaders, eventually, it just takes too much money to keep them moving. And the relative value gap starts to shift to favor rotation. People have made their money in Mag 7 and now they're looking for something else to do, for the most part. Does that mean the leaders aren't going to continue to move higher? No. But it may mean things like Bitcoin will have a more challenging time continuing to go higher. I still think we see 150 by the end of the year on BTC. And if alts catch a bid, they could still outperform that. I don't know what percentage that is on BTC, but some alts here that haven't moved for the entire year, to me, look like they're setting up. So that's enough talking. But dominance looks exactly how you'd want it to if you're bullish alts relative to BTC for the first time since 2023 or earlier, really. You don't have a bearish cloud yet, but this is a very good sign if you're heavily in alts. Now, the problem here is, of course, if you are not honest with yourself and you've been long alts since 2023, it's very unlikely that you've outperformed BTC in this case. Total 2, stripping out alts over BTC, also starting to maybe potentially sort of kind of peak above the cloud for the first time since 2022. There was an attempt in late 2022 that got smacked down. Now, this may be, as I said a video or two ago, just like a huge, massive inverted head and shoulders setting up into 2026, assuming 2026 is bullish for whatever reason. We got midterms, we got maybe stimmies, we got maybe rates going way lower. I don't know, right? We can find a path and a narrative to make up to get us there, to keep this party going. Definitely not a certainty, and definitely something that needs actual ammo to keep going. This isn't just going to keep going on its own. Definitely one of the more bullish potential postures you're going to see on dominance in that total 2 over BTC chart. Total 2 in a vacuum, similar to ETH. I don't really see anything here. You're kind of in no man's land. You've hit targets. You've tried to pull back to the Tenkin. You're above and below. You're not quite to the Kijun. The safest bid, air quotes, is always the Kijun when we've bounced like this. You can see last time in November, we never really pulled back till it was basically over. The next measured move slightly higher. Stable still continuing to print-ish. USDC has printed less since the IPO, at least recently. Post-IPO, Tether is just a machine, just continues to chug along. I think they had 2 billion in prints at least this week. I saw a tiny USDC print this week, but based on what we're seeing, it's clearly just continuation of Tether print. One thing I thought I'd look at with reverse repos kind of going to zero is US liquidity. So this is Fed balance sheet minus Treasury general account minus reverse repo. And this hasn't gone anywhere since 2022. The question is, why did this pop up in 2024? And that was when, at least independently, that was when we got Bitcoin ETFs. So there was a lot of crypto liquidity that sloshed its way in from legacy land outside of US liquidity. Question here is, will these jaws close in one way or another? Can this continue for total 2 relative to US liquidity? Because this is a pretty high correlation pre-2024. Post-2024, it almost looks like there's no correlation at all, maybe even negative correlation. So this would, what would move the liquidity line here? It would be things like stimmies, just more printing, more money printing, M2, that sort of thing. Fed's balance sheet has been reducing. The TGA is kind of in limbo at 500 billion and RRP is almost to zero. So if we're using this as a liquidity proxy in the US, it's hard to imagine anything in the near term that's going to spark a move here, but it's a good sign for alts that they have completely decoupled from US liquidity, which has been flat since 2022. ETH-BTC obviously continues to do very well. We'll look at everything. We'll look at BTC and ETH and all the alts people requested. Looking at this in a vacuum, again, not caring about what this is, just looking at the cloud. Usually when we see this mean reversion to the Kijun, you wouldn't expect just blind continuation from here, a blind breakout, just huge continuation. That's not the baseline expectation. The baseline expectation is we find resistance at the cloud, we let the TK lines catch up, we let the moving averages catch up. So that would mean sideways for a period of time, and then prices through the cloud. The best next trade, I don't know if this happens, but this is the next best trade, is if this comes and scrapes somewhere at 0.32 or whatever this is on the bottom of the cloud, and then moves to 0.45. Similar to how it did over here, it kind of had this like weird zigzag pattern in 2020 and 2021, and then you get your breakout. Now, you're kind of missing all of this if you're just waiting for the breakout, right? So that's one reason why these edge-to-edge trades, I even point them out, because there's typically for crypto a very large trade before the trend shift, as the trend is flipping from bear to neutral to bull in this case. So I don't see a strong setup on the high time frames for ETH-BTC either when we're looking at ETH in a vacuum. So if not that there can't be something there. I mean, there could be a trade there on lower time frames, but if we're looking at, we'll just go to it. If we're looking at ETH-BTC on the weekly, I don't see anything on the daily. I don't personally see anything, although you could just trade this with vanilla fractals and say, okay, if we break a higher high, 0.393, that's a long entry. But there's a TKC clamp forming here as well on ETH-BTC, just like there is on ETH USD. So I wouldn't assume continuation here. Now you could say, well, there's been one drive, there's been two drives, maybe we get a third drive, maybe we get a bigger bear div. I think that's fair to say out loud, like, hey, maybe we get 3 drives, maybe we get another div, maybe we get another move like this. That's fine. I'm not against that. I just think sitting in the ETH-BTC here before the move is silly, but I do like higher highs. So it's very much if this, then that. Wait to see what happens. The TA targets for ETH-BTC, just like ETH-USD, have been hit. There's the fib target, fib levels there. So it's more likely that we see some form of consolidation up here. Now, what you don't want to see, certainly, is this head and shoulders. If you get that, I'll be the first person to say, yeah, this is going to retrace. Dominance is going to retrace. Total 2 is going to retrace. And this is a down the road thing. We would see levels back to the breakout. I'm sure there's some sort of VPVR level down there if I had my settings correct. But in any event, that's the two paths right now. We're still in the decision process. But I don't see a great reason to just hold ETH-BTC outright at the moment. There's clearly this div here that's clearly far away from the Kijun. And you also have Bitcoin, which doesn't look great. It's ranging, it's doing nothing. It looks about as bearish as it did in January 2025. That got bought temporarily. We got another double top situation, and then it sold off. That took a long time. It's not unusual to me that Q1, Q3 is bearish or choppy. Q2, Q4 historically has been where all the money is made. Having or not, president or not, whoever doing whatever or not, like, it just hasn't mattered. That's just in my head what seasonality is. So to expect a move to 150 in Q3 doesn't really make sense to me. It's possible, it just doesn't make sense to me. it should be easier to do in Q4 is my point. Now, if we're below 100K in Q4, then we got issues. Then it's fair to think about, is the cycle over? Are cycles gone forever? Can we get another cycle quicker than the last one? That would be the conversation, but we're not in Q4 yet, and we're not below 100K yet. If BTC sees an edge-to-edge trade here from 114, 113 to 100, then alts are going to get absolutely obliterated. So you got to keep that in mind. And I would use the higher cap stuff as your risk metric for lower cap trades. So if BTC starts to break down, I wouldn't be in page 56, alts on CoinMarketCap. If ETH starts to break down, I wouldn't be in meme coins to a big degree. And we'll take a look at gold and DXY. This is gold. If gold breaks up, this should also act as a risk gauge for you for alts, because you shouldn't expect alts to do well if gold is breaking up. Look what happened again in Q1 this year. You can look at the correlations in gold and total too if you want. I'm sure they're probably close to inversely correlated. So if you're rooting for alts, you can't really be rooting for gold at the same time. They certainly have a lead lag relationship, and this is the dollar. Just as BTC is sort of hinting at a potential edge-to-edge trade, DXY is also hinting at a bullish version of that working its way through the cloud. And we'll probably find out Friday. If Powell comes out super hawkish, my guess is DXY goes up. If Powell is sort of back and forth, wishy-washy, DXY probably does nothing. And if he's dovish, which I don't think anybody expects him to be, then DXY probably tumbles. But this is setting up for a potential move higher, which is very problematic for alts as well. So, I like alerts at like 99. And if that level gets hit, that's just a risk lever to say, okay, time to jump ship on alts temporarily and wait for the end of September. Now onto the rest of these charts. Some equities in here, some mixed market cap alts in here. Galaxy has given it all back over a couple days. Not surprising considering what Bitcoin and ETH have done. I still like the setup. I don't love the setup. I like the setup. I won't be adding any more here. The odds of me closing this trade outright are quite high, just based on how this looks. Still loosely at the neckline. You certainly don't want to lose 24. You certainly don't want to close in the cloud, and you don't want to bearish TK cross. So collectively, this looks like a slam dunk for a trade that's getting stopped out. Coinbase has been trading terribly for a couple weeks, and there's no trade here. There's just nothing to do. The next trade's going to be probably at 400. Earlier than that, above the daily cloud, but that could take another 2 months. I don't see a reason to sit in this. I don't see a reason to be in this. I don't see a reason to own it. At this level, you could say the same for MSTR. We had our window of opportunity, broke down, through the cloud, below the cloud. Bad things happen below the cloud. I've been waiting weeks to say that. Not about MSTR, just in general. Bad things happen below the cloud. So this could be the stone cold bottom. I don't care. I also don't have to trade it. I'm going to wait for prices above the cloud. Now, inevitably, someone's going to ask me, okay, can you trade the edge to edge here? Like you could, but this whole range has been chop. It's been chopped for essentially a year. So yeah, you could trade from, 350 to 420 if you want, sure. But I'm not here to trade MSTR from 350 to 420. I'm here to trade MSTR from 400 to 800. That's what I care about. This piddly stuff here is whatever. I could trade anything to get those returns. I could care less about that. I want to make sure I'm in this if we see momentum above 400, 420. Another one of the BTC treasury companies, CEPO, kind of hanging out here. This is 30 minutes, super low time frame, super noisy, but it's a good sign that it's trying to bottom. We'll see if this can work its way up. I like ads above 1070. Definitely a wait and see. BMNR, same deal, low time frame. Cloud has been directionally correct. So if this can get above 54, 55, I like it. Maybe this is a little falling wedge situation here that's starting to break up. We'll ask Slimer in the Discord, but it looks like it's trying. But until it's above 55, I really don't care about it. SBET, similar. SBET hasn't done as well recently as BMNR. Maybe there's a tiny edge-to-edge move here, but again, are you trading SBET for a 2% move? No. This is why you're trading SBET, going from 10 to 30 in a week, right? So I like shooting my shot anytime it's above the cloud. It was above the cloud early August. It just didn't go anywhere. I mean, that's just trading, right? Okay, fine. Get stopped out. Try again later. So this may take another couple weeks for a decent setup. On to ETH here. It has bounced temporarily at the Tenkan, if this consolidation fails to push higher, and again, just like ETH-BTC, you may see a third drive, a continuous bear div. I like entries on higher high. What is the expected move? I don't know, probably like 5250 or something. You know, you can measure this out with fibs. For most people, I think if they've caught the meat of this move, they really just could care less up here. The other half of people are saying, Josh, you're crazy. This is going to 10, right? And it's like, okay, you know, I'm not going to disagree with you. I just don't feel like that's going to happen soon. So I'd rather just wait and see and figure out if this is going to consolidate and turn lower. Again, I like the Kijun on any chart that looks like this, or just maybe a better setup later on. That's all. Still bullish, still could go higher, still could break all-time highs. All that is totally the case. But if things get angry, I like 3450 in the moment. Solana has been nothing but chop, and this is where a lot of the charts basically look like this. They've done nothing since year to date. They're at a pretty obvious horizontal level. This was the horizontal level Sol broke down from. Bad things happen below the cloud. This is the horizontal level that Sol may break up from. Good things happen above the cloud. But here at this level, it's been a huge just range noise nonsense. I still like the eventual possibility of all-time high retests, but broadly, you're not seeing a lot of strength across the board. Ripple's been a bit different year to date. It's also kind of gone nowhere and just chopped around. It's had bearish reversal patterns, bullish reversal patterns. It's in a bearish pattern here now, I think more so than a triangle or anything that may go higher. And it's just wait and see. I can't sit in this stuff just hoping it's bullish when it looks like this. It's the same thing back here. If you're in the cloud with a head and shoulders, that's not a bullish environment. Okay. Now, if you get some sort of higher high here, if you get more consolidation, fine. But in the moment, that is not a tradable chart in my book. And we've kind of moved the entire gamut of the rest of the video. What you're going to see stuff like ETH that's hitting targets, measured move targets, etc. Sol that's basically flatlining, or things like Ripple, which sort of broke out and now are consolidating, in my opinion, in a bearish fashion. I put XLM in that same bucket. M double top here until proven otherwise. Doesn't have to break down, doesn't have to go anywhere, but I don't have to trade it either. You know, until this looks bullish or looks like it's going to have momentum, what's the point of sitting in this stuff? There's huge opportunity cost. And then if you're wrong, and this does go back to like 27 or something, then you're just eating downside for no reason when you probably are saying to yourself, I knew better. Now, this does not look like bullish continuation here. Now, if these were setting up like gold was, or setting up with a pattern that has a high probability of continuation, then I don't mind that. But this doesn't look like anything to me here. Say is another one. That's a head and shoulders, right? Okay, next chart. You know, there's nothing to do here until this either makes a higher high or hits the level based on the measured move. Pattern could be wrong. I could be wrong. This could go nowhere, etc. But I just don't see a reason to trade anything that looks like that ever to the long side, expecting a move higher. H bar similar, just kind of chopping around, head and shoulders-y. Nothing else to say until you get a move above or below the range. Curve, also kind of a mixed bag, double top. Nothing to say, nothing to do. Just kind of looks like more consolidation in store for that one. LTC is kind of unlike most of these charts. If you're trading this on longer terms, which you really should be, you shouldn't be trading this on low time frames because it hasn't done anything in a long, long time. But if you're trading this on high time frame, low time preference, I guess, high time preference, whatever it is, 250, 350, all-time high retests, anything reaching for that, that's my expectation. There's nothing to do here for me on Litecoin. Link, similar to ETH, hitting some targets is a little room to go. I got nothing for you here. I don't see a setup necessarily on that one. Nothing to say. It's done better than most of the market, but well above the mean reversion level of the trend and has hit targets. ENA, same deal. I don't see a setup. I don't see fresh targets here. I don't see consolidation here. Just needs more time. Kijun down there at 50 cents, 51 cents, something like that. Arrow, same deal. You know, what else is there to do here? The measured move is just above us. Buy, sell, or holds, you're probably just holding, waiting for this to go to a slightly higher level. But if you're breakout trading this, that train has sailed the station. You know, it's left, it's gone. you're in the next train down the road now at 145. So for the moment, I don't see anything to do there as well. Algo looks like a few of these others with the double top, really nothing to do. Waiting for higher highs, waiting for everybody to get the all clear signal to jump back into the pool and to be long alts in a bigger way. ARB, same deal. Doesn't look horrible. It's consolidating at the neckline or the midpoint of, not the midpoint of the range, but the top of the range, midpoint of the recent pullback. Of anything that I've shown here thus far, I certainly like stuff like this the most, where it's at the launch pad. It has the cloud on its side, it has plenty of room on the target. So if I had to sit in something, it would look like this, or it would look like ADA. Has started to break out at the breakout point. Still has plenty of room higher. AVAX, SUI, SOL, all of these are sort of in the range still. I like these better, slightly higher. 25, 26, 26.50. I like it a lot more. Then that sort of signals, at least to me, that, hey, this stuff has momentum and is ready to push higher. Doesn't look horrible here. I don't hate sitting in this, but you just have to realize this is still consolidating. This is an ascending triangle. This is a bullish, in my mind, a bullish reversal setup, maybe even lower time frame, inverted head and shoulders here, but I wouldn't expect anything in the near term. SUI, same deal. Sideways consolidating. You've got M double top, you've got cup and handle, you've got ascending triangle, all sorts of mix of stuff. Above 4, I love it. Above 420, amazing. Here, that's just where we are in the market right now. Really nothing to do. INJ, same deal. Love it above 16. At the moment, just chopping around. Nothing really to say or do on that one. Ondo, same deal. Looks just like these others that we looked at. I like higher highs. I want higher highs. I want momentum. So we're not seeing that on most of this stuff right now. The moment any of this stuff gets a move higher, it makes a lot of sense to me. And ideally, from a trading perspective, this happens in waves where you get a few of them moving at once. You're able to catch those. Those get closer to their targets. Okay, you take profit. You rotate into ones that haven't moved yet. That's alt season to me. That's what you want. You don't want everything moving together. You don't want everything moving on the same day. You don't want everything breaking out, because then you only get one trade out of that. So ideally, you're making a watch list. You're saying, okay, this one, this one, this one, and this one have levels ready to go. You're setting alerts at the breakout levels, and you're just waiting. I mean, DYDX, this is another one. This is kind of lower down the list. I don't know if it's like top 200 or top 300, but that is a long consolidation since the beginning of the year. It's above the cloud. Looks ready to go, above 70 cents. Kind of started. Somebody jumped the gun on the starting line here, and they got DQ'd. Still looks ready to go, and I'm sure there's a bunch of DeFi charts that look like that. Wormhole, same deal. Certainly looks less good relative to DYDX, but same concept, same idea. Aptos, exact same thing. I don't care anything about the fundamentals because the fundamentals are awful. There's unlocks coming, right? There's all sorts of reasons why this is going to underperform or just go nowhere. And that's why it's probably better to just do nothing and wait until this actually has momentum. Because even with all of the negative stuff, if Aptos is the last one to rotate into and everything else has hit their targets, why not? Why not? Why can't this go up? I don't think it's going to be the first one to move, but it's certainly in the conversation when we're talking about laggards that have not moved yet and have a pulse and are tradable, right? A few of these others, Zora, lower time frame, 4 hour. I like this above the cloud. Bullish TK cross. You're not seeing that here. So if we can see that again, I like it. Why not? That's just my trading style. And this is always what you're hoping for. And the problem is people see what happened, last month or whatever, and just assume like, oh, this went from 1 cent to 10. I can 10x in 2 weeks. The likelihood of that happening again is probably pretty low, but you want to be there in case it does. So that's why you trade stuff like this. You say, okay, just like that SBET example, at a huge move, broke out again, didn't go anywhere. Okay, well, it might break out again. It might go somewhere this time, right? Maybe instead of a 5x, it's a 2x. Still pretty good. JUP, just like Sol, kind of doing nothing. I like it above 60 cents. Ton, also just ranging. I like it above 350. Really nothing to do there. OP, also ranging a lot. Nothing to do until it's above 85 cents. And, you can kind of see where my head's at with this stuff. If it's consolidating and ranging, it's not for me. Unless it looks like it's ready to go at the breakout level. So until such time, you set an alert and you go take a hike. You go fishing. You go swimming, you go touch grass, you go learn your kids' names, whatever it is, you do something else. You don't need to sit in this stuff. At least that's my mentality anyway. Then lastly, Morpho. Kind of looks like a cup and handle up here. Don't hate it. Of everything we've looked at, certainly looks like it's more setup ready and not already hitting targets. This is kind of like this weird purgatory in between where it's actually looks really bullish relative to everything else. And you kind of wished more stuff would look like this because it's clearly post consolidation, post breakout, and back at highs again. So that's what you want to see. That's all of this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.